Hi, it's Lisa from Paraphrase, and today in this video I want to talk about brand positioning, which is kind of a boring, jargony word for something that's really quite exciting for your business. It's definitely fundamental to having great marketing messaging and also being able to sell easily and naturally without feeling pushy and all of that. But what exactly is brand positioning? Well, it is somewhat to do with the angle that you take on your business that makes it stand out and unique from everybody else in your market space. And that may be the way that you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. You know, maybe you have a neat, unique process for delivering your products or services. It could be that you have an interesting backstory that you have woven into the work that you do. It might be that you have a very specialized niche that you serve, or it could be that you're the only one doing exactly what you do. So those are four different angles you could have on brand positioning, and you might have one or a combination of those, but if you have none of them, well, that's kind of a bad position to be in, and I am trying to be punny there. So when you have no brand positioning, what happens is you just blend in with everybody else in the market space. And there is nothing, identifying you and your unique value, and therefore you are often competing on price. You're seen more as a commodity and less as an expert or an authority in your field, and that's no fun. Plus, it's hard to build brand awareness and brand loyalty because you're not memorable, again, because there's nothing making you stand out. So we want to talk about how to fix this. If you're struggling a little bit with, how to define your relationship to others in your market space and your relationship to your clients or customers in your market space. And I have a few slides to share with you to kind of talk about what I call these 3 V's of brand positioning. So let me switch my screen over here. And this is new for me. I'm trying a new thing, screen sharing on these lives. Okay, so the first V of brand positioning is value. And value is, let me move this down here. Value has to do with both the benefits and the outcomes that you provide through your product or program or service, as well as how important those are to the customer, okay? So there's the outcomes that you're giving, and then how important those are to your customers. So those are sort of those 2 arms of the V that come together. The next V is voice. And voice is basically how you say what you want to say in a way that the customer wants to hear. Okay, so on one arm of that V is your style and your personality and the language that you use. And on the other arm, it's what your customer says and thinks and the language that they use. So you're trying to find an overlap between those two. Basically, you want the customer to be thinking like, oh my gosh, I just said this exact thing to Susie the other day, or wow, it's like they're inside my head, So you really want to kind of get to that place. Okay, so the third V is vision. Now, vision is both what you see for your client or customer as the outcomes for them, and on their side of the V, it's what they want as a transformation because of using your product or program or service. So again, it's this coming together both of what you envision for them and what they envision for themselves. And remember, we are all selling a transformation, whether you're selling products, physical products, services, whatever it is, everybody is selling a transformation. You're selling a change of state. You want to go from point A to point B. All right. So when you bring all of these elements together, these 3 V's together, creates this star, and it's like, you're like a supernova where you are shining so bright in your little corner of the universe and bringing into orbit all of the clients or customers, all the right people just for you, for your business. Okay, so that's why I look at the brand positioning as your brand's star power, because it really is that thing that makes you stand out and gives you that magnetism to bring people in. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit, just give you a couple of examples of how brand positioning works with some products that we're all familiar with. The first being toilet paper, okay? So if I'm showing this matrix of value and price and how those interact with each other, the relationship between the two of them based on brand positioning, or rather I should say how your brand positioning affects value and price. Okay, so toilet paper. Well, it's a commodity. I mean, everybody needs toilet paper, right? On the value spectrum, it's kind of low value, and therefore on the price side, it's also low price, right? So it's kind of, you know, down in the corner there of the spectrum. Then you consider a brand like Charmin who comes in, and if you're not in North America, may not be as familiar with the brand Charmin, but they have for many, many years, long positioned themselves as the premium toilet paper, you know, thick, luxurious, like the stuff that you would stock your guest bathroom with. As such, they're seen as higher value and therefore they can charge more. So, for example, in Georgetown, Guyana, where I live, the Charmin on the shelf costs like 3 and 4 times as much as all the other brands. Okay, so they can do that because of how they've positioned themselves. All right, let's take a look at soda as another, you know, mostly a commodity. And again, I would place it pretty low value. If you're looking at, you know, the top two well-known brands, Coke, Pepsi, you know, for all intents and purposes, they're the same. There's very little distinguishing. They're both colas. They're both carbonated beverages. Yes, there may be some brand loyalty there due to a taste preference, and plus they have billions of dollars to put into marketing. But basically they're down in this sort of low value, low price area. Then you consider a company like Jones Soda. They're like a small boutique beverage maker, and they are positioning themselves as, you know, like kind of the good for you soda, if there is such a thing. So they use natural ingredients like natural cane syrup for sweetener instead of high fructose corn syrup. They have unique flavors, those sort of things. So as such, they're perceived as higher value, and therefore they can charge a bit more, you know, and again, sometimes 2 to 3 times more than a Coke or Pepsi. Okay. Another example for a service-based business would be like a client of mine who does leadership development for IT companies. So not just any kind of companies, but for IT companies. So they're specialized in the type of companies that they serve. And they do leadership development particularly with middle managers. So not necessarily the C-suite like a lot of people do, but they're really focused on middle managers. So they're coming in with this very distinctive expertise in a specialized area, and therefore they are well known for the work that they do in that space, and they can charge more. Okay, so just as a recap of why brand positioning is so important, it is because it does allow you to stand out and be perceived as the expert you are, you know, to hold that level of credibility and trust with your prospective clients or customers. It makes you much more memorable, which makes you easier to share. Your work is easier to share and to refer, and so it generates that brand awareness and brand loyalty. Often sales are much easier, whether or not you choose to charge more, which you certainly can do when you're better positioned. Regardless of that, sales are often easier because it is so much more clear the distinction between you and other options for your prospective client or customer. Okay, So if you would like to dig a little bit more into brand positioning, if you really kind of want to get more clear about your own, I have a workbook. It's called Define Your Brand Star Power, again, because I think it's so much more fun to think about brand positioning as your brand's star power. You know, that thing that makes you just shine and light up in the sky and magnetic and all of that. And you can get that workbook. I've got the link in the post here. You can download it. It's free. It includes writing templates for a positioning statement, or actually a couple of templates. So I encourage you to check it out. That's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.